everyone, this is Nia and today I finally have a sketchbook tour for you. As you can tell, I haven't done this for a while, so I have a few books to go through with you today. So these are the books. All of these might look familiar to some of you who's been here for a while. These are my tutorial sketchbooks, so all of these paintings, or most of these, should be available on my channel as tutorials, so you can go ahead and look them up if you're interested in any of them. I think this is probably my oldest book in the collection, so I'm going to start with this. I made this sketchbook for Skillshare class, and this has a puffy cover, and I think this is probably my favorite size and dimension for a sketchbook so far, so hopefully once I'm done with my current sketchbooks, I'll have time to make another one this size. I usually jump from sketchbook to sketchbook as I'm painting or making a tutorial, even from page to page, so these paintings are not in order at all. All of these I mentioned are either tutorials or trials for a class. I guess some of them are Skillshare classes as well, but yeah, I'll just go over these. These are quite old. Some of the paintings I made between 2020 and 2023. As I'm editing and going through this sketchbook again, it's actually quite nostalgic. This one I painted when I reached 100,000 subscribers. I think it was during COVID, and this one was such a fun one to paint. This next one is probably one of my favorite spreads in the sketchbook. I love the combination of winter birds and colorful eggs, and yes, these are available as tutorials on my channel. I love the chubby winter birds and I love the soft colors, but yeah, sadly I don't think this video did very well for some reason. It just goes to show that just because you like a painting that you did, it's going to do well on YouTube. It's still partly luck if the algorithm picks it up or not. Maybe people just weren't interested in the subject at the time, or maybe it's just not as good as I think it is. Who knows? What do you guys actually think though? You can write it down in the comments, and I'm also interested to know what your favorite subject matters are to paint, or which of these paintings or tutorials is your favorite if you tried any of these out. I'd love to read your thoughts and feedback. I know I can't really take suggestions and make them on the spot since I schedule my videos so far ahead. It could be 5 months ahead or so with my current back and forth lifestyle, but I'm still curious to know what your favorite subject matters are. And what sort of tutorials do you want to see more of? Is it complex ones which are nice to look at but might not be something that you take on since it's such a large project, but it's fun to watch? I think it doesn't do too well in my opinion, but who knows? Do you like full landscapes? I've actually been practicing these, if you can see through my shorts. I'm really interested in learning to paint loosely. Not sure if you care for it though. Or is it more of the beginner-friendly paintings like easy flowers and plants, storefronts? For sure, I know it's not food since it never does well on my channel, but I just keep doing them because they're one of my favorite subject matter to paint. But it'll be so interesting just to know these so I can take into consideration what the majority of my audience like. So these are the slightly more recent works. I know these small doodles do really well, but I'm not sure if you're going to get bored of them soon, or if you would like to see more of these and what theme would you like to see. That would be interesting to know. So yeah, just leave it in the comments. This is another one of my favorite spreads. I love themed spreads when they're next to each other, and of course I always love cozy autumn related things. Here's another one, I guess, but this time it's winter themed. I know there were a few of you who asked for another winter doodle, but last year I just turned it into shorts instead. I'm not sure if you mind, but hopefully I'll remember to make a full tutorial this winter. Lastly, from the sketchbook, this is the Ghibli scene that I painted in gouache in 2020. It took me around 6 hours to paint this spread, but that was really fun, even though it took way too long. But yeah, that's it for the sketchbook. Moving on, I quite like this dimension and size for a sketchbook as well, and I also made this one. Sadly, the paper that I used became damaged and the paint soaked into the paper instead of staying on top, so I couldn't reactivate and spread colors and things. You'll see that some of the colors are just not as vibrant here. They're quite dull, even though I really try to increase the saturation as I paint. The pages in front were much better though, because the paper was still in better condition. It's kind of sad though when you're working on a sketchbook and the paper doesn't hold well halfway through. But yeah, I tried to just power through it and I still quite enjoyed painting some of them. I tried to also think of techniques which will make it a bit better and at least make certain things more defined, since the paint also bleed out a little bit further than what you painted for the edges. So I did things like adding outlines with pencil or pen. But yeah, I really think that this is a good size to paint on for a tutorial. I feel like it's quick enough for me to paint on such a small size, but it's still enough space for me to add enough details. Oh, I really loved this one. It was so much fun to paint and actually quite easy. It just took a little bit longer because it was a double page spread. Hopefully I can think of a similar setting in a different season maybe. I think this would look kind of cute for an autumn theme with red and yellow trees. So hopefully I'll remember this year. And this is the last painting for the sketchbook. I really struggled so much with the dullness of the color here, but I just tried to use gouache for the background instead, so the color looks a little bit more lively. But let's move on to the next sketchbook. This one, obviously I didn't make. This was by Potentate, and I really like using these for sceneries and for landscapes. So this one was kind of random. I think someone asked me to paint my art supplies, and I didn't really know how to turn it into a composition. So I kind of turned it into the scene. I think I found some inspiration and tried to combine it into this idea. I really love painting flowers, and I think this is probably one of my favorite scenes where I get to include different colors and textures to paint these flowers. It's not really the best. I think now I would have approached it differently to depict the depth of the composition, but at that time I think I was quite happy with it. Depth was something I struggled with when painting scenes, just like this beach scene. So you'll see a few doubles on the sketchbook. I remember failing and repainting a few of these if I didn't like the initial painting. So I just made sure I made these few changes. Oh, I remember this painting did really well. I think a lot of you enjoy front porch and storefront paintings. I think it's a mix of geometric shapes from the exterior and the plant textures. I also enjoy painting these, but personally I love getting to experiment with different techniques, just like this next one where I got to paint the shimmering lake where the light hits the water. I remember having so much trouble with this next one. I'm pretty sure I filmed it either 3 or 4 times, but with a loose paper as well. Again, I always have trouble painting depth, especially with such a detailed painting. I kind of wonder how I would approach this type of painting now after a couple of years. By the way, if you've watched my previous sketchbook tours, you might notice that I usually share a sketchbook where I have some pencil sketches. They're basically behind the scenes trials of paintings or practice of shapes before I turn them into a tutorial, or sometimes they're just fun pencil doodles. I understand that these are probably more interesting to look at compared to these past paintings that I've done as tutorials, as I don't usually show them on YouTube. So they're kind of like my thinking process or behind the scenes, but sadly I just haven't been able to do those anymore. Or usually when I do them, I just use a scrap piece of paper since the sketches are usually really small, and then I just toss them out. I've just been trying to churn out as much content as possible. Honestly, it's just been getting quite difficult these days with the algorithm, since we have to now keep up with shorts as well in order for the channel to just even stay afloat or relevant on YouTube and not disappear into the abyss. So yeah, I've just been finding it a bit difficult to adjust to the new workload, and I try to instead use the shorts as a time to experiment with learning new techniques, like painting smaller landscape sceneries that I've been doing so far. It just takes longer to do though, because we still have to edit them, whereas before it was just something I did behind the camera or something that I don't really have to edit. But yeah, I guess there's nothing you can really do but follow the system when you're doing this kind of work. Hopefully I'll figure it out though, because I do still want to make a living out of this, and at least I still enjoy painting, and I'm still so happy that I get to actually paint for a living, which is already a privilege in itself. Not to mention, I have the best supportive community here where we support learning with each other, and I almost get no trolls, which is so rare on YouTube. But yeah, I really hope I get to still do this for a while longer. Moving on to the final sketchbook, which is my most recent, and this is an A6 by Bauhong. I really like this paper so far after painting on it, so I bought a couple more of these. Actually, thinking back, I think there are actually 1 or 2 more sketchbooks that I haven't shown and I haven't included when I was filming, but I think there's already a lot to show here, so hopefully it's okay. It was actually my first time using this paper and sketchbook, so there are flowers from Skillshare class, and I also tried some new things. If you follow my shorts, some of these paintings, I basically tried to paint outdoors while I was traveling with my husband's family, so they might look a bit more loose than my usual paintings. Yeah, the sketchbook is actually quite scattered, but I really enjoy how the paint reacts to the paper. This is 300 GSM and the paper is also cotton, but they're not as fragile as the ones that I've used in the past, especially for cheaper paper. So I hope they keep up with the quality, since I already bought a couple more. We are nearing the end of this final sketchbook, so these paintings might look quite familiar since they're quite recent. Again, most of these paintings that I've shown here are available on my channel as tutorials, so feel free to look through my channel if you're interested in seeing how I paint them. And yeah, that's basically it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this walk through my old and quite recent sketchbooks, or at least found this video relaxing to watch. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll be back with another tutorial next week. See ya!